Well, we are back and we are in the living room, and I am so excited. I'm leaning in just because I think it's so important that we as believers address the hard things. If people cannot turn to the body and the ecclesia and the church of God to deal with tough stuff, well, what's society to do? And I appreciate and love bringing people to you that are willing to talk about their story, the overcoming power of Jesus Christ, the way we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And today I have a speaker and an author and an inner healer and a minister and a creator of a workbook now. And her name is Lynn Eldridge. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm honored. Thank you for inviting me.
And, you know, my audience knows Jim and Pat Banks very well, and you came so highly recommended by them. And they are salt of the earth. They are good people.
They are.
So for you, and you guys met at Heidi Baker's in Mozambique, right?
Yes. Pimba, you know, the first question is, hi, my name is Lynn. I'm from wherever. And who are you? Where are you from? She goes, Pat Banks. I'm like, Pat Banks? She goes, trauma prayer. I know a little bit about trauma too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you do. And I want to correct, in the opening, I said bipolar to blessed, and I know it's bipolar to beloved and beloved, but that is a blessing. So maybe I just gave you the name for your next book, you know, or your accompanying study.
Right.
But to beloved. Now, let's go back, Lynn, because of course we want to talk about, you know, when God intervened, but let's go back to your family of origin, your upbringing, when you started having difficulty, how you got labeled. Let's start there, and then we'll talk about the second part, which is the journey of healing.
Okay, well, thank you. I was conceived out of wedlock.
Me too.
In the 50s.
60s.
And that was a really intense time for my mother and father.
Yeah.
So there was kind of like the shotgun wedding.
Yes.
And I was not wanted.
Yes.
And so that's where I actually have learned that rejection can enter even in the womb.
100%.
My mother's mother, my grandmother, had been an orphan. And she was horrifically abused. She would show us the scars on her body where she was intentionally burned on a stove, where she was intentionally, they yanked her hair out. They would lock her in the shed in Oklahoma during the day in that heat. And I can't imagine anybody doing that. But she was probably misunderstanding what love looked like when she had children.
Yes.
It was probably just a generational lie.
Yeah.
That love looks like being critical, angry.
Yes.
And
controlling.
Demeaning. Exactly.
Right. Belittling.
Belittling. You know, you're not wanted either. You're a problem to me.
Yes.
Kind of attitude, but she did it not because she was evil. She was
broken.
Broken.
Wounded.
Exactly, because hurt people.
Yes, right.
And she didn't know God's ways. By the time I met my grandma, she knew Jesus.
Oh.
And of course, you know, thank God I'm not the same woman I used to be.
Right.
And she wasn't either. But my mother was imprinted with that kind of, this is what love looks like. And it was a little angry and critical and controlling and demeaning. And we went to church.
Yes.
We were raised in church. But Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
That's right.
And we didn't know God's ways, nor did we practice them, because I thought God was like my most influential parent. And I thought he was angry and judging and punishing and critical. And so, you know, there's never good enough.
Yes.
And I grew up with that kind of thinking. And of course, I tried to please.
Yeah.
And probably wasn't any more perfect than I am now. But at one point, I just had enough.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm going to be punished for everything I do, if I'm never going to be good enough, if I'm never going to measure up, I've had enough. Yeah. And in my heart, I dishonored and divorced my family. And I'm like, game on. And I went into rebellion.
And where, like your teenage years?
Yeah, I was actually taking ballet and going to a school of the arts.
Yeah.
And I was really blessed to do that and to dance 4 to 6 hours a day. That's where my freedom
Yeah, an
really
outlet.
was.
An outlet.
Sure. But I wanted to stay there my freshman year. And my father said, no, I need you to come home and be a normal child.
Oh.
And he didn't understand those kind of dreams.
Giftings, right.
And, but actually, even when I was at that academy during the summer, I was not the tallest. I was not the thinnest. And we have eating disorders generationally in our family. So I found myself going to the grocery store and buying a box of icing. I was 8th grade and making it. Sugar's addictive.
Oh, it is.
Like heroin,
Yeah.
addictive. And I made the box, ate it, and I threw it up. And that became my first disorder. I didn't know it was bulimia. Later, I was anorexic. It's a form of control.
Yeah.
Trying to control, and it just brings more shame
Right.
and more pain because it never fixes anything.
Right. Well, in your book, you even spoke of self-hatred.
Right.
And you spoke of numbing, you know, that started coming in at an early age.
Sure. Well, I figured that if my family hated me, there's probably a reason for it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because there's something wrong with me. That's what a child thinks,
Yeah.
right?
That's how the enemy comes in and
Right.
starts, you know, lying and planting those seeds and then has other people reinforce it.
Right. Yes.
Teachers,
Exactly.
well-meaning church members,
Right.
you know, people that just haven't grown and matured and been discipled in their faith. The enemy uses whoever he can, whenever he can, to try to accomplish his mission in destroying destinies.
Right. And even lying about the image of God. We
Correct.
tend to gravitate towards churches where you better turn or burn.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was a love story.
yeah.
I thought it, was a finger pointing, angry God.